The scrapyard was silent, except for the sound of rusted metal creaking in the cold wind. Mountains of broken machines and shattered ships stood like giants, their shadows falling over the dirt. The place smelled of oil, fire, and forgotten dreams. People from the nearby town often came here to search for spare parts, but none dared to go deep inside. They said the scrapyard was cursed. In the farthest corner, under a pile of twisted pipes, something moved. It was not a machine, it was a girl, an alien girl. Her skin was pale and glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her eyes were half closed. Her body was weak, thin, and unmoving. She could not feel her legs. She could not even sit up. She was paralyzed. Her family had brought her here weeks ago. They had placed her between dead machines, whispering cruel words, "You are broken, you bring shame. Stay here and vanish." Then they left. Not once did they turn back to see her tears. They treated her like trash, the same as the metal around her. For days she lay there, staring at the dark sky. Her lips were dry. Her stomach ached with hunger. Every time she tried to call for help, only a soft sound came out, "Please, don't leave me," but no one listened. Scavengers passed by, hearing her faint cries, but they walked faster, afraid to touch something cursed. The girl's hope faded, she told herself. "This is where I will die, alone, forgotten." Like a broken machine, her voice trembled. But no one answered. The scrapyard became her prison. Her heart filled with despair one night. The wind carried a new sound, heavy boots crushing on metal. A lantern's glow cut through the darkness. A human man stepped inside the scrapyard. His face was hidden under a hood, his clothes were torn. He was not rich. He was not powerful. He was just a mechanic who collected scrap to survive. The man searched through piles of metal. Tossing aside wires and rusted parts, he muttered to himself, "If I don't find something tonight, tomorrow I don't eat." His voice was tired but strong. He had been here many times before, but never this deep. Tonight something pulled him forward. The alien girl heard him. Her weak eyes widened. Her lips trembled as she forced a sound. "Help! Please!" The man froze, his lantern shook in his hand. He turned slowly, scanning the dark corners. At first he thought it was the wind playing tricks, but then, again, the whisper came. Softer. "Please, don't leave me." He stepped closer, pushing aside broken panels. His light fell on her face, pale, dirty, yet strangely beautiful. His eyes widened. He whispered, "By the stars." "It's a child." The alien girl blinked at him, her eyes full of fear and pain. Her voice cracked. "They left me. They left me here to die." A tear rolled down her cheek. The man felt his chest tighten. He looked around quickly, afraid others were watching. Humans were not supposed to help aliens. The law was strict, the punishment cruel. But something inside him refused to walk away. He crouched beside her, placing the lantern on the ground. He touched her arm gently. Her skin was cold. "You're alive," he whispered. "How long have you been here?" Her lips moved slowly. "Days. Maybe more. I cannot feel my legs." The man's heart burned with anger. He clenched his fist. "Your own people did this to you?" She nodded weakly. "I was useless to them, broken. They said I was cursed." Her eyes filled with shame. For a moment the man looked at her. Then at the scrapyard he knew he should leave. He knew helping her would bring danger. But his feet did not move. Instead he whispered, "You're not cursed, you're alive. That means you still have a chance." The girl's eyes widened slightly, her lips shook. You won't leave me." The man's jaw tightened. He reached out and carefully lifted her small, frail body from the cold ground. She gasped. Not from pain, but from shock. No one had touched her with kindness for so long. As he held her, the scrapyard seemed to grow darker. The shadows stretched. A feeling of unseen eyes watching pressed against his back. The man turned quickly but saw nothing still. The weight of danger was heavy in the air. He whispered to himself, "If anyone sees me with her, I'll be hunted." But then he looked at her again, her head resting against his chest, her eyes finally closing as if trusting him. His decision was made, he muttered. "So be it. I won't leave you here." The scrapyard creaked as if warning him. The broken machines groaned in the wind, but he walked forward, holding her close, step after step. Into the night, behind them, the scrapyard was silent again. The place of forgotten lives had lost one prisoner, but it would not forget, the shadows seemed to whisper. She was never meant to leave alive, and so began a story that would shake more than just a scrapyard. A human's choice to save one broken girl would soon ripple across worlds. The human carried the alien girl out of the scrapyard, his boots crunching over broken glass and metal. The night was colder now, and the sky above was filled with stars. But he felt the weight of every step. She was so light in his arms, as if her body was more bone than flesh. He looked down at her pale face. Her eyes were closed, but he could feel her shallow breaths. Each one sounded like a struggle. He whispered almost to himself, "Why am I doing this?" The truth was simple. He knew he should not be here with her. Humans helping aliens was forbidden in this part of the galaxy. The town nearby hated her kind if they saw him carrying her. He would be punished, maybe even killed. He reached the edge of the scrapyard and stopped. His mind spun with fear. He could still turn back. He could lay her down and leave. No one would know. No one would blame him after all. Even her own family had abandoned her. But when he looked at her face again, his heart twisted. Her lips were cracked, her skin dirty, and yet, in her fragile form, there was something innocent, something that didn't deserve death. He sighed deeply. If I leave her, then I'm no different from the ones who threw her away. The man adjusted her weight in his arms and began walking toward the small shack he called home. The streets were empty, but every shadow made him nervous. He felt eyes watching. He tightened his hold on her, whispering, "Just a little longer, stay with me." The girl stirred. Her eyes half open, she whispered weakly, Why are you helping me?" The man looked at her, his jaw tense. "Because you're alive, that's enough reason." Her eyes shimmered with confusion. Her voice cracked. "My family said I was cursed. They said no one should touch me." Anger burned in his chest. He muttered, "Then your family are fools." He tried to keep his voice steady, but he couldn't hide the rage he felt at such cruelty. When they reached his shack, he pushed open the door with his shoulder. The inside was small and cluttered with tools, broken parts and old machines. He laid her gently on a thin bed in the corner. She winced softly, but she did not complain. He lit a small lamp, casting warm light across the room. For a moment he just stood there staring at her, torn between fear and determination. Finally he said, "I don't even know your name." She looked at him with tired eyes. "Lyra. My name is Lyra," he nodded slowly. "I'm Kale." For a while, silence filled the room. Lyra's eyes wandered around, taking in the strange human tools and machines stacked everywhere. Then her gaze returned to Kyle. "You will not send me back?" she asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Kyle clenched his fists. He could feel the weight of the choice pressing on him. If he kept her, he would be breaking every law. He could lose everything. But looking at her now, he knew he could not betray her trust. He sat down on a stool and rubbed his face with his hands. "I should throw you out, that's the truth, but I can't. I can't leave you to die, not after I saw you lying there." Lyra's eyes glistened. A tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, "Then I will owe you my life." Kale shook his head quickly. "No, you don't owe me anything. Just survive, that's enough." But deep down, he knew it was not that simple. Keeping her safe meant danger. The town guards often searched for aliens hiding in human homes. And worse, there were hunters who tracked down weak aliens for sport. Kale stood up and began pacing the room. His heart was heavy. "What am I doing?" he muttered. "One mistake, and both of us are dead." He glanced at her again. She had closed her eyes. But a faint smile touched her lips for the first time. She had found a tiny spark of hope, and it came from him. Kale exhaled slowly. "No turning back now," he whispered. His decision was made. He would protect her, even if it cost him everything. Outside, the wind howled against the shack. The world beyond was still hostile, still waiting to crush the weak. But inside, for the first time in weeks, Lyra felt safe. Kyle didn't sleep that night. He sat by the lamp, staring at the door. Every sound making him tense. He knew this was only the beginning. And somewhere, deep in the scrapyard, unseen eyes had noticed the human who dared to carry away what was meant to be left behind. The small shack was quiet except for the sound of tools clicking in the corner. Kale sat on his stool, trying to focus on fixing a broken engine part. But his eyes kept drifting back to the girl lying on the bed. Her breathing was steadier now, though her face was still pale and weak. Lyra slowly opened her eyes. The dim light of the lamp made her blink. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she saw Kale sitting near her. Watching carefully, fear flickered in her heart. Her voice came out soft. Did not leave me. Kyle shook his head. No, I didn't. He pushed the engine aside and stood up, walking closer to her. I said I wouldn't. Lyra tried to lift her hand, but it shook so badly she let it drop back. She looked at him with doubt. Humans are not supposed to care for us. Why risk it? Kale leaned against the wall, folding his arms, his eyes darkened. Maybe I'm not like the others, he said quietly. Or maybe I'm just too stubborn to walk away. Her lips curved into the smallest of smiles, but then her expression turned sad. My own family left me. They said I was broken, useless, cursed. If even they could abandon me, why should a stranger save me? Kale's chest tightened. He had no answer that could heal her pain, so he said the only truth he knew. Because I saw someone who deserved better. The silence between them grew heavy, but it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of two souls trying to understand each other. Kale went to the shelf and brought back a cup of water. He held it to her lips. She sipped slowly, the cool liquid easing her dry throat. For the first time in days, she felt alive again. Thank you, she whispered. Kale nodded. You'll need food too. But I don't have much. We'll manage. He sat back down. But his mind was restless. Every moment with her meant danger. Yet he could not push her away. He thought of the guards, the hunters, and the law that treated aliens as less than nothing. He knew the risk. But when he looked at her, he couldn't regret his choice. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the faint hum of machines in the shack. She spoke softly. When I was small, I wanted to build things like this. But my hands grew weak, my legs stopped moving. My people said I was cursed. They laughed when I tried. Kale raised his eyebrows. Build things? Machines? She nodded. I learned by watching others. I could understand how pieces fit together, even without touching. It was the only thing that made me feel alive. Kyle leaned forward, curiosity sparking in his eyes. Show me, he said. He placed a small broken device on her lap, careful not to hurt her. Tell me what you see. Her thin fingers trembled as she touched the metal, but her eyes lit up. This is not broken, she whispered. It's missing a core piece here. If you attach a small energy chip, it will work again. Kale blinked, surprised. He had been struggling with that device for days. He quickly fetched a chip and slotted it where she had pointed. With a soft hum, the machine flickered back to life. Kale stared at her in disbelief. How did you know that? Lyra smiled faintly. I told you. I can see how things fit, even if my body is broken. My mind is not. For the first time, Kale laughed. It was short and rough, but it was real. You're not cursed, Lyra, he said firmly. You're gifted. Her eyes glistened, her family's words echoed in her mind. Useless. Cursed burden, but now, for the first time, someone spoke the opposite. The warmth in Kale's voice made her heart tremble. Trust began to grow, fragile but real, she whispered. I believe you. Kale felt something shift inside him too, a spark that had been missing in his lonely life. He had lived in shadows, surviving one day at a time. But now, with Lyra in his home, he felt like he had a purpose outside. The wind howled through the streets, a dog barked in the distance. The world beyond was still cruel, but in that small shack, a fragile spark of trust burned brightly. Yet Kale knew this spark would not stay hidden for long. Rumors always spread, secrets never lasted. Someone would come, and when they did, he would have to protect her. For now, though. He allowed himself a moment of peace. He looked at Lyra, who was finally drifting into sleep, and whispered, Rest, little one, tomorrow. We'll face whatever comes. Morning came slowly. A weak sunbeam slipped through the cracks in Kale's shack. Touching the floor scattered with tools and scrap, Kyle was already awake, sharpening an old blade while keeping an eye on Lyra. She had slept through the night, her face calmer than before, but her body still fragile. When her eyes opened, Kale greeted her with a nod. You're awake, he said softly, handing her a piece of bread. It's not much, but it will keep your strength. Lyra took it carefully. Eating in small bites, her voice was quiet. Why do you live here alone? Kale shrugged. Because it's easier. People don't ask questions, I fix machines, sell scraps, and no one bothers me. He looked at her with a half smile. At least until now. She lowered her eyes, guilt washing over her face. I brought danger to your home. You should have left me there. Kyle's expression hardened. Don't say that again. You didn't choose what happened to you. And I don't regret bringing you here. Her lips trembled. But then she nodded slowly. His words carried weight. She could feel he meant them. For a while, silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of machines. Then Lyra spoke again. "Cale, I need to tell you something." He looked at her curiously. "What is it?" She hesitated, fear in her eyes. "Back in the scrapyard. There is something hidden. Something only I know about." Kyle frowned. "Hidden? What do you mean?" Lyra took a shaky breath. "Before my family abandoned me, I overheard them speak. They were afraid of me, not only because of my body, but because of my mind. I can connect with machines in ways others cannot. That's why they called me cursed." Cale leaned forward, listening carefully. "Go on." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "In the scrapyard lies a ship core, ancient and powerful. My people buried it there to keep it hidden. They feared what it could do if it fell into the wrong hands." Cale's eyes widened. He had worked with ship parts his whole life, but a core was beyond anything he had ever touched. "A ship core? That's impossible." Lyra shook her head. "It's real. I saw it once. I felt it calling to me. My family knew I could sense it. That's why they feared me. They left me to die near it, hoping both secrets would be buried together." Kyle rubbed his chin. His mind raced. If what she said was true, that core could change everything: power for a fleet, a weapon, or even freedom from the chains of the town's rulers. He whispered, "Why tell me this?" Her eyes softened. "Because you are the only one who looked at me and saw more than a broken body. If anyone should know the truth, it is you." Kyle's chest tightened. He felt both honored and burdened. He knew such knowledge was dangerous. Hunters, warlords, even the council itself would kill for a ship core. Still, he could not ignore her words. He nodded firmly. "If it's there, we'll find it together." Lyra blinked, surprised. "Together?" Cale smirked slightly. "You think I'll let you go back to that scrapyard alone?" For the first time, Lyra laughed softly. It was weak but pure, like a sound she hadn't made in years. The shack felt warmer just from that small spark of joy, but the warmth didn't last. A loud knock suddenly shook the door. Cale froze. His hand went to the blade he had sharpened earlier. He motioned for Lyra to stay quiet. Another knock came, harder this time, and a rough voice growled, "Cale, open up! We know you brought something out of the scrapyard." Lyra's face drained of color. She whispered, "They know." Cale cursed under his breath. His heart pounded. He had expected trouble, but not this soon. He looked at her with fierce determination. "Stay down. Don't make a sound." He moved slowly toward the door, his blade hidden behind his back. The voice outside called again. "You think you can hide it? Hand it over or we'll burn your shack to the ground." Cale's mind raced. If they were talking about scrap, he could bluff. But if they already knew about Lyra, things would turn deadly fast. He glanced at her one last time. Her eyes locked on his, full of fear but also trust. That fragile bond they had built was now being tested. Cale took a deep breath. His voice was steady as he shouted back, "I don't know what you're talking about." But inside, he knew the truth. The secret Lyra carried had already begun to spread, and now they were both targets. The knocking grew louder. Each strike on the door rattled the walls of Kyle's small shack. Dust fell from the ceiling outside. Heavy boots stomped in the dirt. More than one man had come. Cale gripped his blade tightly. His jaw was set. He whispered over his shoulder, "Lyra, stay hidden no matter what." She clutched the thin blanket around her trembling body. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought they would hear it through the walls. "Cale, they're here for me," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Cale's voice was sharp but calm. "I won't let them take you." The door slammed open with a violent kick. 3 men stormed inside. Their armor was dented, their eyes sharp and cruel. Each carried a weapon, rusted but deadly. The leader, a tall man with scars across his cheek, sneered when he saw Cale. "We warned you, scrap rat. No one touches what isn't theirs." His eyes scanned the room. "Where is she?" Kyle stood his ground, blade half hidden behind his leg. "I don't know what you're talking about." The scarred man smirked. "Don't lie, we saw you carry something from the scrapyard last night." "Pale skin, weak body, an alien girl." His voice dropped, cold and mocking. "Hand her over, or we'll gut you like a fish." Kyle's heart raced, but his face showed no fear. "You think you can threaten me in my own home?" he growled. The second thug stepped forward, lifting his crude rifle. "We don't threaten, human. We take—" Behind the bed, Lyra pressed her hand against her mouth, trying not to cry out. She had been left to die once already. She couldn't bear the thought of being dragged away again. Cale's mind raced. He couldn't win against 3 men in a straight fight. He needed to use his surroundings. His shack was small, but it was filled with traps of his own making. Unfinished machines, loose wires, and unstable fuel cells. The scarred man stepped closer. "Last chance, Cale, hand her over. And maybe we let you live." Cale's eyes flashed. He lifted his blade slowly. "You'll have to kill me first." The room went tense. The thugs exchanged quick glances, then the scarred man snarled. "Fine by me." The first swing came fast. A metal club arced toward Cale's head, but Cale ducked low, slashing upward. His blade cut across the thug's arm, making him scream. The rifle clattered to the floor. The second man lunged, but Cale kicked over a pile of scrap. Jagged metal spilling across the floor. The thug tripped and fell hard, smashing his face against the ground. The scarred leader roared. Charging at Cale, their weapons clashed, sparks flying in the lamplight. Cale's muscles strained as he fought. Each strike shaking his arms, Lyra could not look away. Her heart ached watching him fight for her. She whispered to herself, I can't just hide." Her eyes darted to a small machine on the floor, one she had studied earlier. It was a shock device Cale had built but never finished. Her trembling hands reached out, her mind focused. She could feel the machine's design in her head. She pulled at the wires, connecting them in seconds. Her alien gift flowing through her like fire. The device hummed to life. A faint blue glow lit up her lap. Cale was pushed back against the wall, the scarred man pressing his blade dangerously close. Just as Cale's strength began to falter, Lyra shouted, "Now!" and slammed her hand against the device. A surge of electricity blasted across the floor. The 2 thugs nearest cried out as sparks burned their skin. They stumbled back, their weapons dropping. Cale seized the chance. He drove his blade into the scarred man's shoulder, forcing him back with a cry of pain. The men, shocked and wounded, staggered toward the door. The scarred leader cursed, blood dripping down his arm. "This isn't over, Cale. You've made yourself a target. We'll come back with more." With that, they fled into the night, their footsteps fading quickly. The shack fell silent except for Cale's heavy breathing. He dropped his blade and turned toward Lyra. She was shaking, the broken device sparking faintly beside her. Cale's eyes widened. You did that?" She nodded weakly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I had to help. I couldn't just watch them hurt you." Cale stepped closer, his voice softer now. "You saved us both, Lyra. You're stronger than you think." Lyra's lips trembled. She whispered, "They'll come back. More of them." Cale clenched his fists. His eyes burned with determination. "Then let them. We'll be ready." Outside, the night was no longer quiet. Somewhere in the dark, whispers spread. The hunters had failed, but more were coming. The fragile trust between Cale and Lyra had now become something deeper, a bond forged in battle. But with each passing hour, the danger around them grew sharper. The Scrapyard secret was no longer hidden, and soon the whole town would know. The night stretched long after the hunters fled. Cale sat by the door with his blade resting on his knees. His eyes stayed sharp, waiting for another attack. But the only sound outside was the whistling wind. Across the room, Lyra lay on the bed, her body trembling from exhaustion. She had used her strength to power the broken device, and now every muscle in her body felt weak. Still, there was a strange glow in her eyes. She had proven something to Cale, and to herself. Cale finally stood, walking to her side. He looked down at her with both worry and pride. "You saved me back there," he said quietly. "How did you know how to finish that machine?" Lyra's lips parted. She hesitated before whispering, "I didn't just know, Cale. I felt it. It's hard to explain, but when I look at machines, I can see inside them. I can see how the pieces connect, how energy flows like the machines." "Speak to me," Cale frowned, his heart thudded in his chest. "Speak to you? That's not possible." But she shook her head, her eyes glistened. "It's the truth. That's why my family feared me. They said I was unnatural, that no child should be able to do what I did. They thought if anyone found out, our whole bloodline would be shamed." Her voice cracked, and she turned her head away. "So they left me in the scrapyard. They wanted the world to forget me, but I cannot forget what I am." Cale sat on the edge of the bed. He studied her face, pale but determined. For days he had seen only weakness in her fragile body. But now he saw something else. "Power, Lyra," he said firmly. "That's not a curse, that's a gift. And maybe the most important one I've ever seen." Her eyes widened. "You really believe that?" Cale nodded without hesitation. "I've worked on machines my whole life, but I've never met anyone who could do what you just did. You're special. More special than you realize." For a moment she was silent. Letting his words sink in, then she whispered, "If I am special, then others will come, not just hunters, Cale. The council itself may hear of me. They will want to use me or destroy me." Cale clenched his fists, his jaw tightened. "Then we'll keep you hidden, and if they come, we'll fight." But deep inside he knew it was not so simple. The hunter's words still echoed in his mind. "We'll be back with more." Trouble was already on its way. Lyra's eyes closed for a moment. Her breathing steadied. Then she spoke again. "Kyle, do you remember what I told you about the Scrapyard core?" He nodded. "Yes, the ship core." Her eyes opened, shining faintly in the lamplight. "It's not just a power source, it's alive in a way. When I was abandoned there, I felt it calling to me. Its energy wrapped around me like a whisper. I think it is waiting for me." Cale's breath caught. Alive? A core that called to her? It sounded impossible, yet after what she had done with the shock device, he could not doubt her words. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "What does it want?" Lyra shook her head. "I don't know, but I think it's tied to me. My family feared that connection. They feared what would happen if I unlocked it." Her voice grew quiet. "Maybe that's why they abandoned me, to bury the secret with me." Cale's chest tightened. He felt a storm rising. Something bigger than both of them was unfolding. He whispered, "If this core is real and if you can control it, then everything changes." Lyra looked at him with fragile hope. "Will you help me find it?" Cale didn't answer right away. His mind was torn between survival and destiny. But when he saw her eyes so full of trust, he knew the answer had already been decided. He nodded. "Yes, Lyra, we'll find it together, whatever it is. We'll face it." Her lips curved into a faint smile. The first genuine smile he had seen from her. For a moment, the weight of her past seemed lighter. But their peace did not last long. A howl echoed from outside the shack. Followed by the sharp cry of a horn, Cale stiffened. His hand went to his blade instantly. He knew that sound. It was the signal of the hunters. Lyra's face paled. "They've returned." Cale's voice hardened. "Then tonight, the fight begins." He moved toward the door, his shadow stretching across the room. Behind him, Lyra whispered a silent prayer, her hands clutching the blanket tightly. The truth was no longer hidden. Her gift, the ship core, and her survival. All of it was now part of a storm that was about to fall upon them. The horn outside wailed again, sharp and angry. Cale tightened his grip on the blade. His shack trembled as boots marched closer. Shadows moved across the thin cracks in the walls. Inside, Lyra struggled to sit up. Her body was weak, but her eyes burned with determination. "Cale, you cannot face them all," she whispered. Cale glanced at her, his jaw set. "I don't care how many there are. I won't let them take you." The door rattled as fists pounded against it. Voices shouted from outside. "Come out, human. We know the aliens inside. Step aside and maybe we spare you." Cale raised his blade and shouted back, "If you want her, you'll have to come through me." The hunters roared with laughter. Then with a crash, the door splintered open. 5 men stormed in this time, weapons gleaming in the lamplight. Their scarred leader stood at the front, his arm bandaged from the last fight. His eyes burned with rage. "You made a fool of me, Cale. Tonight you die." The hunters spread out, circling Cale like wolves. Cale's heart pounded, but his hands were steady. He slashed forward, forcing 2 men back. The clash of steel filled the small shack. Sparks flew as blades struck metal. Lyra's breath quickened. She could not move fast, but her mind was racing. Her eyes darted to the broken device she had used before. It was burned out, but scattered wires and fuel cells lay across the floor. She closed her eyes, reaching with her strange gift. She felt the energy, the flow of circuits. She whispered to herself, "Come alive." The wires sparked, a glow building under the bed. The hunters paused for a moment, confused by the sudden hum of energy. That second was enough for Cale. He lunged, slashing the scarred man's chest. The leader staggered back, shouting in fury, "Kill him! Kill them both!" 2 hunters rushed Cale at once, forcing him to block desperately. His arms ached, but he fought with the strength of desperation. He knew he could not last long against so many. Then the floor shook. A blast of light erupted from the corner where Lyra lay. The hunters froze, staring in shock. Lyra's voice rang out, stronger than before. I am not cursed. The wires wrapped together, forming a crude machine that pulsed with blue energy. The air vibrated with power. The hunters stumbled back, their eyes wide with fear. Kale's face lit with astonishment. Lyra? The scarred leader snarled. She's a witch!
Kill her now!
He charged, but Kale met him halfway. Their blades clashed again. This time Kale did not fight alone. The energy from Lyra's device surged, shocking the floor beneath the hunters' boots. They cried out, stumbling as sparks burned their legs. Kale roared and drove his blade forward, striking the scarred man down. The leader collapsed with a scream, his weapon clattering from his hand. The other hunters panicked. Fear filled their eyes as the strange energy continued to hum through the shack. She's not cursed, she's dangerous. One of them shouted, and in terror they fled into the night, dragging their wounded leader with them. Silence returned, broken only by Kale's heavy breathing. He lowered his blade slowly, turning toward Lyra. She was slumped against the bed frame, her face pale but her eyes bright. Kale rushed to her side, kneeling. Are you all right? She gave a weak nod. I told you. I'm not useless, Kale smiled, though his chest ached with both pride and fear. No, you're not. You're more powerful than even you know. For a long moment, they sat together in the dim light, the smell of smoke and burned wires hanging in the air. The danger had passed, for now, but Kale knew it would not end here. The hunters would return, and worse, news of Lyra's gift would spread beyond the town. Soon more powerful enemies would come. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. We can't stay here, Lyra. They'll never stop hunting you. Her eyes met his, filled with fear but also hope. Where will we go? Kale looked toward the scrapyard in the distance, its twisted shadows stretching under the moonlight. We go back, he said firmly, to the core you spoke of. If it's truly waiting for you, then it may be the only thing strong enough to protect us both. Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then we'll face it together. Kale nodded, his heart steady. Together, the night outside was still dangerous. The future ahead was uncertain, but inside that broken shack, a bond had been forged between a human and a paralyzed alien girl, one built not on pity, but on trust, courage, and a shared destiny. As Kale blew out the lamp and prepared to leave, Lyra whispered softly, her voice carrying more strength than before. You didn't just save me, Kyle. You gave me a new life. And with that, their story turned toward a path neither of them could have imagined. A new beginning that would echo far beyond the scrapyard of forgotten lives.